ready, and the high. And actually works. Speed outflying mode. Welcome to another free Flybubble video. In this video, I'm going to try and answer some of the questions that we get fired at us in our videos. Start with Kresimir Huskovac. Sorry if I said that wrong. Kresimir says, I'm a beginner and I have an Epsilon 9. Its brakes are somehow too long, so it's a problem for me when landing. Any advice? Help? Thanks. The first thing to check is, are they actually the right length? The best way to do that is to get a service centre to actually check the glider for you. So with the Epsilon 9, the brakes are not particularly long for that level of glider. First of all, if you really are finding that they are too long, then what you can do is, from holding the brakes at the bottom of the triangle, so from that position you just kind of put your hands round the line, so you're holding onto the brakes and you put your hands round and take half a wrap of brake. What I recommend you do is actually, while you're ground handling, try change to that position and just make sure that you're not holding too much brake and end up stalling the glider. But in addition to that, it's about the technique on landing, really. You're coming in sideways, or if you turn near the ground and just come in fast, then it might be that you're just finding you're coming in fast on your landings, and it's not really so much about the length of brakes. It could be a combination of how you're landing relative to the wind, if you're landing crosswind or downwind, which can happen if it's very light wind. Also, if you land in the middle of a turn, then you're going to find you're sinking fast and coming in quick, and that you're going to land fast and hard. First of all, with the landing, the most important thing is to have a really good approach. Straight and level in the approach, keep your hands up, keep good speed, try and make sure that you're landing into wind, and then at the last moment, make sure your feet are down, ready to run. At the last moment, that good flare, but this sort of speed, and hold it down, and then you'll find the glider then climbs slightly, and then the stall drops you down nicely. In response to our Phi BEAT and BEAT Lite review, check out that. Yes, and Nanny asks, how does it compare with the Ozone Rush 6? Phi BEAT and BEAT Lite are completely different gliders, really. So they're, in my opinion, BEAT and BEAT Lite are mid-B gliders with pilot demands that are actually around the middle of the B class and even slightly lower, and they're very easy gliders, whereas the Rush 6, which I've actually flown a good amount, has got more performance, it's got more glide and more speed. It doesn't really have a better sink rate. In fact, I'd actually say that from my experience, the BEAT and BEAT Lite might outclimb it, because they have a very good sink rate, and I feel like the Rush 6 is a bit more built for speed, and it's very good for faster gliding, but not really so floaty. Woody Foster asks, how does the Birdie compare to the Phi SYMPHONIA 2? It's a good question, that. They're both really excellent wings. Testing both out, bearing in mind I do think the performance of both of them is really excellent. I think the SYMPHONIA 2 has a slight edge over the Birdie in terms of glide performance, and particularly when it's accelerated, but I'm really pushed at this. They're both really excellent. SYMPHONIA 2 really is quite astonishingly good. It really is quite amazing. You've got to try one if you haven't. They're both a real pleasure to fly. The handling, they don't handle like most A gliders. They feel more like a sort of low to mid B glider. In terms of the handling, I think the SYMPHONIA 2 has kind of a slightly sharper kind of handling, the feeling of it, compared to the Birdie. Most A gliders kind of do feel more dampened and are great for first pilots wanting something and needing something reassuring that looks after them. Don't get me wrong, a lot of A gliders nowadays are fantastic. They're really great to fly. But yeah, the SYMPHONIA 2 and the Birdie, they've got the pleasure and the enjoyment factor of a higher class, really. So yeah, well, from my testing, I think the SYMPHONIA 2 has the edge on the glide performance and all-round performance over the Birdie by a bit. It's got an amazingly good performance. It actually outperforms, from my testing, all of the low Bs and even keeps up with the mid Bs. It's pretty amazing. A nice thing about the Birdie is it's lighter and more compact. Fantastic high A gliders, one emphasizing a bit more on the performance and got the edge there, and the other a little bit more on the lightweight and compact. Daniel Bowring asked, how would you compare the BEAT Lite to the ARAK AIR? They seem to be pretty similar on paper. Well, Daniel, first see our written and video reviews of the Skywalk ARAK and ARAK AIR, and also the BEAT and BEAT Lite. Overall, from flying the two, they're both really fantastic mid-B gliders. So for pilots who don't really want just a low B glider, they want something more than that, but don't want to go to the high B gliders because they can be quite sporty, some of them, and have higher pilot demands. For me, they're the two main contenders in that area, and it's great that they do standard and lightweight versions of them. But in overall, from testing both gliders quite a lot, I'd say that the Beat and Beat Light, which are, to be fair, newer models, they've more recent models, I think they've got the edge in performance, particularly in glide and speed. I also find that the Beat and Beat Light have kind of more responsive handling. Personally find them a bit more pleasurable to fly. The Arak's really great, but its kind of handling I find is a little bit stiffer. It prefers to be flown heavier loaded, whereas the Beat and Beat Light, they seem to cope better at different parts of the weight range, so you can actually fly the Beat or Beat Light quite high loaded or low loaded, better than quite a few other gliders do. On the ground, I'd say the Beat Light again has an edge there. It's just so sorted on the ground, so nice and easy to launch and ground handle. Even though the ARAK Air is really great, I think the Beat Light is even better.